A story of betrayal, social media facades, and finding truth in the digital age. Hey there. Before I get into this, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. This channel has become my therapy, my truth, and maybe it can help you see through the facades in your own life too. The worst part wasn't finding the texts. It wasn't catching them together. It wasn't even the lies she told me to my face while looking me directly in the eyes. The worst part was watching her post that family photo the very next day. Blessed beyond measure with these two loves of my life. Hashtag family first, hashtag grateful heart, with a carousel of perfectly staged photos, her kissing my cheek while I held our daughter Emma on my shoulders, all of us laughing in matching outfits at the pumpkin patch. 217,000 likes. 4,000 comments about how we were couple goals and parenting done right. And I just stood there, holding my phone, wondering if I was losing my mind. That was 3 months ago. Today I'm finally ready to tell you what happens behind those perfect Instagram squares. About how the Nelson family adventures, with its 1.2 million followers across platforms, was built on a foundation of absolute bullshit, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. The beginning of the end. 5 years ago, Rachel was just my wife, not a content creator. We were normal, as normal as any couple with a newborn could be. Sleep deprived, arguing about whose turn it was to do the 3 a.m. feeding, but happy. Genuinely happy. The blog started innocently enough. Rachel was struggling with postpartum depression, and her therapist suggested journaling. She'd always been good with words, so she created a small blog to document our journey as new parents. It was authentic then. She wrote about the mastitis, the baby blues, how sometimes she'd cry in the shower because she felt overwhelmed. People responded to that honesty. Other moms would comment, "Thank God someone finally said it." The community she built was beautiful, but then the sponsorships started coming in. Small stuff at first: free baby clothes, a stroller, diaper subscriptions. Then bigger brands took notice. The checks got larger. Rachel quit her job as a high school English teacher to focus on the blog full-time. I was supportive. Hell, I was proud of her. Who wouldn't be? My wife had turned her darkest moment into something positive that not only helped others but was now helping our family financially. We moved from our tiny 2-bedroom apartment to a house in the suburbs. We could afford a nanny twice a week so Rachel could focus on content. Life was good. Or at least, the highlight reel was good. What I didn't realize then, what I couldn't see, was how the pressure of maintaining that perfect image was changing her. Changing us. Mike, can you retake this? The lighting isn't right. Mike, could you please put on the blue shirt instead? It coordinates better with our color scheme. Mike, can you do that again, but look more natural this time? Our weekends were no longer spontaneous family time but carefully planned content creation opportunities. Beach trips weren't about Emma building sandcastles but getting the perfect shot of her in her new sponsored swimsuit, looking wistfully at the ocean at golden hour. I'd come home from work to find my living room rearranged for the 5th time that month because Rachel had decided our aesthetic needed to be more farmhouse chic. Our actual farmhouse table, the one we'd saved for months to buy when we first got married, was relegated to the garage because it didn't photograph well. "It's for us," she'd say when I'd get frustrated. "This is setting us up for the future. For Emma's college fund. Don't you want that?" Of course I did. So I swallowed my irritation and played my part, the supportive husband in the curated life of Rachel Nelson, family influencer extraordinaire. The first sign came from Emma, of all people. She was 4 last spring, and we were at the playground, a rare outing with no camera, no content plan, just a dad and his daughter on a Wednesday afternoon because Rachel had a business meeting with her manager. "Daddy," Emma said, hanging upside down from the monkey bars, her blonde curls brushing the ground, "is Mommy's friend Mark going to live with us?" My heart did this weird stuttering thing. "Mark? Who's Mark, sweetie?" "Mommy's special friend. They have lots of meetings. He makes her laugh really loud. Kids, man. They notice everything and have zero filter." I played it cool, helped her down, suggested we get ice cream. All while my brain was racing through a mental Rolodex. Mark? I didn't know any Mark. Rachel's manager was a woman named Stephanie. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I think any person in my position would have done the same. When we got home, While Emma was distracted with her iPad, I checked Rachel's calendar on our shared family account. 3:00 p.m. Content planning with Stephanie, but according to her location sharing, which we'd set up for safety reasons years ago, she wasn't at Stephanie's office downtown. She was at the Westin Hotel, about 20 minutes away. Even then, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were meeting a potential sponsor there. Maybe Stephanie had changed offices. Maybe the location sharing was glitching, but deep down, in that place where your gut knows things before your brain is ready to accept them, I knew. I waited until that night, after Emma was asleep. Rachel was in her office, what used to be our guest room, editing photos for the next day's post. "How was your meeting with Stephanie?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe, trying to sound casual. "Good. Really good. The home organization brand wants to extend our contract for another 6 months." She didn't look up from her computer screen, her face illuminated by the blue light as she adjusted filters. "That's great," I said. "Where did you guys meet?" A slight pause. Almost imperceptible. "Just at her office." "Why?" And there it was. The lie. Small, seemingly insignificant, but a lie nonetheless. "No reason," I said. "I'm going to bed." That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid there next to her, listening to her breathing, wondering how we'd gotten here. Wondering if I was overreacting. Wondering if one little lie meant what I feared it might mean. The next morning, Rachel announced she had a photo shoot planned for us. "Fall family portraits," she explained, laying out coordinated outfits on our bed. "The light in the backyard is perfect right now, and that maple tree is hitting its peak colors." I went through the motions. Put on the Henley shirt she'd chosen, helped Emma with her boots, smiled on command. Click. 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 100 photos to get the 3 that would make it to the feed. After, while Rachel was reviewing the shots and Emma was napping, I did something I'd never done before. I checked Rachel's phone. She'd left it on the kitchen counter while she went upstairs to change. The passcode was Emma's birthday. It had always been Emma's birthday. My hands were actually shaking as I typed in the 4 digits. I didn't have to look far. The text messages were right there from Stephanie M. Only when I opened the thread, it was immediately clear that Stephanie had a very deep voice and sent a lot of shirtless gym selfies for a female manager. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same place? Miss the taste of you. Your husband has no idea how lucky he is. Or how much he's missing." I felt like I was going to throw up. Right there on our white kitchen island that had been featured in Better Homes and Gardens last summer, I put the phone down exactly as I'd found it and walked out the back door. Stood in our perfectly landscaped yard, designed, of course, to be the ideal backdrop for seasonal content, and tried to breathe. The maple tree really was beautiful, its leaves a vibrant mix of red and gold in the afternoon sun. The same tree that would be the backdrop of tomorrow's Instagram post about embracing the changing seasons of life with the ones you love most. What a fucking joke. I didn't confront her immediately. That probably sounds weak, but I needed time to process, to plan. And, if I'm being completely honest, part of me was afraid of what would happen when our carefully constructed life imploded. For 2 weeks, I lived in a bizarre alternate reality where I went to work, came home, played with Emma, and pretended everything was normal. All while knowing my wife was meeting this smart person whenever I was out of the house. I started paying attention to the details I'd been blind to before. How she'd become more protective of her phone. How she'd been working out more intensely, buying new lingerie that I never saw her wear. How her girls' nights had increased in frequency but somehow yielded fewer social media posts than usual. Meanwhile, online, we were still the perfect Nelsons. Rachel posted a heartfelt anniversary tribute to me, 7 years with my best friend and still falling deeper in love every day, on a day when we'd barely spoken to each other. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. One night, I waited until she was in the shower, then used her iPad to look through her photos. There he was. Mark. Tall, dark-haired, with one of those meticulously groomed beards that takes more maintenance than most people's entire morning routine. Worse than the selfies he'd sent her were the ones they'd taken together. In hotel rooms. In what looked like his car. One particularly gut-wrenching image showed them at a restaurant, clinking wine glasses, with a caption she'd added, "To new beginnings." New beginnings. While I was at home putting our daughter to bed, reading her goodnight moon for the 1000th time, I took screenshots and emailed them to myself. Then I did something impulsive. Something that, looking back, was the first real decision I'd made for myself in years. I recorded a video on my phone. Hi, I'm Mike Nelson. You might know me as the husband from the Nelson Family Adventures. The guy who's always smiling in the background of my wife Rachel's pictures. The devoted dad and adoring spouse who comments supportive emoji under every post. I held up my phone to show one of the screenshots. This is the reality behind those perfect posts. This is what's happening while I'm being told she's at business meetings. This is what our authentic family life really looks like. I didn't post it. Not yet. But recording it felt like reclaiming some tiny piece of my voice. The confrontation itself happened on a Tuesday night. Emma was at my parents' for her weekly sleepover, a tradition Rachel had started so she could have self-care time but that I now understood had a very different purpose. Rachel was at the kitchen table, planning content for the upcoming holiday season, spreadsheets and mood boards spread out around her laptop. I know about Mark, I said simply, standing across from her. The change in her expression was subtle but unmistakable. A tightening around the eyes, a slight flush creeping up her neck. Who? She asked. But it lacked conviction. I placed my phone on the table and played one of the videos I'd found on her iPad. Her and Mark in what was clearly his car, kissing. Her giggling as he whispered something in her ear. She didn't speak for what felt like an eternity. Then, finally, how long have you known? Not denial. Not an apology. Just a question about my timeline, as if the betrayal's duration was what mattered here. Long enough, I said. Is he why you've been pushing for a bigger house? For more sponsored content? Is he the reason you need a personal videographer for your retreat next month? She closed her laptop slowly. It's not what you think. Really? Because it looks exactly like what I think. It looks like you've been lying to me, to our daughter, to your million followers who think we're relationship goals. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, she said, her voice rising slightly. Do you know how hard it is to maintain this image? To be perfect all the time? Mark, he sees me. The real me. I laughed then, a harsh sound that surprised even me. The real you? Rachel, you've spent the last 3 years making sure nobody sees the real you. Including me. That's not fair, she said, tears welling in her eyes. Those same tears that appeared on command whenever she needed to post about mom guilt or the hard days of parenting. You know what's not fair? Turning our life into a performance and then getting mad at me for not playing my part well enough. Using our daughter as a prop for sponsored content. Making me feel like I'm not enough because I don't fit the aesthetic you're selling. It's not like that, she insisted. The blog supports our family. It gives us opportunities we wouldn't have otherwise. At what cost, Rachel? At what fucking cost? She flinched at my language. I rarely swore, especially not at her. I love you, she said, reaching for my hand across the table. I made a mistake. We can fix this. And here's the thing, a part of me wanted to believe her. The part that remembered the Rachel from before, the one who used to snort when she laughed too hard, who would eat ice cream straight from the container with me at 2 a.m., who cried real tears when Emma was born. But then my eyes drifted to her phone, lighting up with a notification on the table. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same time? And I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. A choice she'd been making day after day. I want a divorce, I said quietly, her eyes widened. Mike, no. Think about Emma. Think about the brand. The brand. Not our marriage, not our family. The brand. I'd been thinking about Emma, I replied. About what kind of example we're setting for her. Do we want her to grow up thinking it's normal to live your life for likes and comments? To perform happiness instead of actually experiencing it? Rachel's tears were flowing freely now, smudging the mascara she'd applied that morning for a reel about effortless everyday makeup for busy moms. What about the house? Our income? You can't just throw everything away. I'm not throwing anything away, Rachel. You already did that. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. I'm going to stay at Dave's tonight. We can talk about logistics tomorrow. As I packed a bag, she followed me around the bedroom, oscillating between tearful pleas and cold calculations about how this would affect her sponsorship deals. We need to control the narrative, she said as I zipped up my duffel. Maybe we can spin this as a trial separation. Or better yet, keep it quiet until after the holiday season. The Christmas content is crucial for Q1 partnerships. I really looked at her, and wondered when exactly I'd lost my wife to this alternate version of herself. Goodbye, Rachel, I said, and walked out the door. That night, sitting on Dave's couch with a beer in hand, I made the decision. I posted the video I'd recorded. Not the screenshots, I wasn't that cruel, but just me, talking honestly about the reality behind the picture-perfect posts. I'm not doing this for revenge, I explained in the video. I'm doing this because I'm tired of the lies. Because maybe there's someone else out there feeling insufficient compared to these curated lives they see online. Someone else wondering why their family doesn't look like the ones on Instagram. This is your reminder that nobody's life is as perfect as it seems on social media. Nobody's. I didn't tag Rachel. Didn't use any of her hashtags. Just posted it on a brand new YouTube channel called Behind the Posts and went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, it had 10,000 views. By lunchtime, 50,000. By dinner, over 1 million. The comments were a mix of support, shock, and people tagging Rachel, demanding a response. Her Instagram went silent, no perfectly timed 8 a.m. post, no lunchtime story about Emma's organic bento box lunch. Then came the messages from people I knew. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Relatives who followed Rachel's blog. My parents, concerned about Emma. Rachel's parents, defending their daughter while simultaneously asking if the allegations were true. The online world Rachel had cultivated turned toxic almost instantly. People were digging through years of her content, looking for signs they'd missed. Analyzing photos for evidence of discord. Making side-by-side comparisons of her authenticity posts versus what I'd revealed. It was exactly the kind of social media firestorm Rachel had always feared and meticulously planned against. She called me that afternoon, voice trembling with a rage I'd never heard before. Do you have any idea what you've done? My comments are flooded. Brands are emailing about contract clauses. My agent can't even get me on the phone with half my sponsors. I'm sorry it's affecting your business, I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I didn't want her to suffer financially. But I'm not sorry for telling the truth. The truth, she spat. You think your little pity party video is the truth? You have no idea what it takes to build what I've built. No concept of the sacrifices I've made. Sacrifices like our marriage? A pause. Then, quieter, that's not fair. None of this is fair, Rachel. Not for me, not for Emma, not even for you. We've been living in this bubble of filtered reality for so long, I think we both forgot what's real. Another long pause. I could hear her breathing, unsteady on the other end of the line. What do we do now? She finally asked, and for a moment, she sounded like the old Rachel. Uncertain. Human. I don't know, I answered honestly. But whatever it is, I think it needs to start with honesty. Real honesty, not the curated kind. 6 months later. It's been half a year since that night. 6 months of lawyers and therapists and hard conversations. 6 months of rebuilding a life that isn't staged or filtered or sponsored. Rachel took a break from social media for mental health reasons, her words in her last post, which got more engagement than anything she'd shared in years. Authenticity, it turns out, is actually what people had been craving all along. Emma splits her time between our new apartment and the house, which Rachel kept. She's in therapy too, learning that families come in all forms and that it's okay to feel sad or angry sometimes. That emotions don't have to be photogenic to be valid. As for me, my YouTube channel has grown. Not because I'm sharing the dirt on Rachel or our failed marriage. I refuse to go that route despite multiple offers from gossip sites and even a book deal. Instead, I talk about the psychological impact of living a performative life. About the toll of curating a false reality. Sometimes I interview psychologists or other former Instagram husbands who've had similar experiences. Last week, something unexpected happened. Rachel reached out, asking if she could come on the channel. "I've been doing a lot of work on myself," she wrote in the email. "A lot of thinking about how we got to where we did. I'd like to share my side, if you're open to it. Not to defend what I did, but to maybe help others recognize the warning signs before they go down the same path." I was skeptical at first. But after talking it through with my therapist, I agreed. We recorded yesterday. No makeup team, no lighting setup, no scripted questions. Just two people who once loved each other deeply, talking honestly about how the pursuit of a perfect image destroyed the real thing. At one point, off camera, she asked about Mark. "Have you heard from him?" I asked. She laughed, a genuine laugh, not the melodic one she'd perfected for videos. "He ghosted me the day your video went viral." Apparently, dating an influencer is only appealing when the influence is positive. I wasn't surprised. Men like Mark are drawn to the fantasy, not the flesh and blood woman behind it. The video of our conversation goes live tomorrow. I have no idea how people will respond. I'm sure there will be those who think I'm a fool for giving her a platform, others who will accuse us of manufacturing drama for views, becoming the very thing I've been criticizing. But here's what I've learned through all of this: there's no such thing as a perfect life, online or off. There's just life, messy, complicated, sometimes painful, sometimes beautiful. And trying to filter out the mess doesn't make it disappear, it just pushes it into the shadows where it grows and festers. Emma asked me last weekend, as we were making pancakes in my small kitchen, "Daddy, are you and Mommy going to make videos together again?" "Just one," I told her, flipping a slightly burnt pancake onto her plate. "But it's an important one." "Is it about telling the truth?" she asked, drowning her pancake in syrup despite my weak protests. "Yeah, sweetie. It's about telling the truth." She nodded sagely, in that way kids do when they understand more than we give them credit for. "That's good. I like the truth better than pretend." Out of the mouths of babes, right? So if you're watching this, if you've stayed with me through this whole story, remember, what you see online is never the full picture. Behind every perfect post is a real person making choices about what to share and what to hide. Sometimes those choices are harmless, sometimes they're devastating. Choose truth, even when it's messy. Choose reality, even when it doesn't photograph well. Choose to live your life instead of performing it, and if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's create a community based on authenticity rather than aspiration, because in the end, the most beautiful filter is no filter at all.